John, you fail. It's unrecorded. All right, so I'm going to go back into my vertex mode and go into my vertex, and I can move it. Now that I have it created, I can go into perspective mode and move all my points. But you can see that they're lines, and I want to keep it pretty lined up because this is the actual one edged, one pie slice of what I'm going to revolve or lathe here in a second. All right, so let's kind of clean it up. So let's talk about this. That's one vertex. That's the corner. If I right-click on this object, the sub-object, I get the quad pop up, and you get Bezier corner, and smooth. Now Bezier is what we're after. So if I hit smooth, you get this nice round shape, and that's going to try to hold the actual curve as tight as possible, which is that sine curve, that log curve that I was talking about. If I go in here and right click again, I'm going to go into Bezier, and now I've got these things, these little Bezier handles, and those are fun. So now I can just totally screw that sine curve up and have some fun with it. Problem with that is that I'm moving one, I'm moving both. So let's go back. I'm going to change that back to corner, and I'm going to go back into here and change it to Bezier corner. So now I got my Bezier, and now I got actually broken handles, so I can actually get a smoother transition from top to bottom. So basically, if I wanted to bring this point together to get a little bit more of a finger grip concept that matches the reference, I can pull this down. Now the key thing to notice, y'all see those little straight lines that make up the curvature. That is the resolution of the spline. Does that make sense? Like the segmentation of the splines. If I go into, where is it? Rendering, geometry. I'm looking for interpolation, which is usually way up here on the top. If I go to interpolation, the steps set is 6. That's default. If I change that to 1, I lose pretty much all my awesome smoothing. If I change that to 6, or change it back to 6, I get that. I can change it to 15. I can make it as dense as I want. And I'll go back over that a little bit so you can see more about what that's about. Let's change that back to 6 and make it nice and clean. And I'm going to go ahead and just build the handle from this point right here. Now, what I'm going to add is a modifier for called the lathe. So let's go ahead and we're in modify panel. So I right click, I got show buttons, and right click, and I go to patch spline editing. It's the second one. And then I'm going to go to lathe. All right, so just like any modifier, it'll apply the action of the modification to the center or the pivot point of your object. So my base pivot point is right there next to the origin of the line, right there, and that's where the actual gizmo of the pivot point is placing itself. That's not going to work. What I can do is change the axis. And so let's go back. I'm going to go back to top level of my spline. I'm going to move it into the location where I want it, and I'm going to change the actual sub-object, which is the axis, and slide that over. And so now I'm starting to see more of what I want to see for the handle. All right. Now, here's a problem. We've talked about this before on several occasions, the normals. You'll see how the top of my handle is pink and the outside is black. That means the normal's facing inside. How many of y'all played Fallout or Skyrim? Walking up a mountain, you're falling down, you're on level ground, and you're looking on the inside out towards the world. That's what we're seeing right here. The normals are facing inward, and we need to pop them to face outward. Normals are one-sided. Does that make sense? It's like a one-way mirror. And here, the software knows that it's going to screw up, so it has a checkbox, flip normals. Now I can see the actual skin of my object. Does that make sense to you guys? So now let's go back into here, and I want to get into the line sub-object. So I'm going to go below my lathe modifier, and I'm going to click on the test tube, which says show in result or on off toggles. Click that on so it shows the result of what's happening up in my stack and allows me to kind of see the three-dimensional object that I'm working on. So if I go to the vertex, and I got that vertex right there, I can change the location of that vertex and change the actual angle of that, of the curvature. I'm going here, and I'm going to click on that vertex again where the Bezier handle's at, and I can, y'all see how I'm not able to select it because what was selected here is not matching what's selecting here. So you got to make sure you click on that box when that happens to activate the axis that you want to move or transform. Does that make sense? So click on that, I can slide that down. I can actually change the shape of this. So I'll go in there and I can make this Bezier corner and change that down. And now what I can do, I want to bring this down to where that little sharper connection is at. So here I'm creating geometry because my Bezier handles are overlapping. So I can just create this, and if I get this straight and flat, I can get rid of the geometry that I don't need. And now I actually got a much more conducive shape that makes more sense and matches more closely to my actual reference. Okay? So what I want you guys to kind of do is, the way we will play with this, the way I want you guys to actually do this, and I'll do this real quick, you can also try to build a shield, a buckler. If I go into my Create panel and go to my line, I'm going to use the center point, origin, as my center point where I want to revolve that lathe, right? So let's just go a basic shape, click, click, click. There's the lip, click. And since I'm going to be doing a lathe, like a wine glass, I'm going to match vertices. When I create one on the top side where the top face will be, I want to create one on the bottom face. And since I need to weld this, I'm going to leave it as an open mesh right here. I'm going to go into Modify panel. I'm going to go and drop the lathe on there. I'm going to move the axis point to where I want it. And if you can build a flying saucer with these tool sets, you'll surely be able to figure out how to build a handle pretty easily. Okay? The reason why I want to show you the easy thing late, so you can see the craftsmanship quickly. But see, this is definitely more of a walk than a shield, but you can see how the idea works, right? All right, cool. I'm going to post that video.